Exercise 9.1, shortened cakes and foam cakes and meringue. The objectives for this exercise are to gain experience in preparing shortened cakes and to see the differences between cakes prepared by the conventional method and the single stage method. Second objective is to gain experience in preparing unshortened cakes. And the third objective is to evaluate differences between shortened and unshortened cakes. So Unit 1 is angel food cake, and that's where I'm going to start. The first step, I've already got my oven preheated to 375 degrees, and I've moved the oven rack to the lowest spot in the oven. It's going to bake a little bit lower than normal. And the first step is just to take the powdered or icing sugar and the flour and mix those together. So I've already got those pre-measured. So I'm going to give them a stir to make sure that they are well combined. And since an angel food cake is nice and light, I want to actually make sure that I'm not leaving any lumps in the flour or sugar. So I'm going to take a little extra time in my stirring. Okay, and then the next step is for me to use the egg beaters to beat the egg whites along with some cream of tartar. So I'll just move over to an outlet and I'll get started on that. Okay, for angel food cake, we're using egg whites only. So I've already separated a cup and a half, and that was 12 eggs. I'm going to use a nice clean bowl. And then I'm also going to add the cream of tartar that I measured. And the cream of tartar will act as a stabilizer for the structure of the cake. And then I'm just going to beat this up. I'm going to beat it until it starts to look foamy. Okay, so that didn't take very long at all to start looking foamy. Then I am going to add the sugar just a little bit at a time, usually about 2 tablespoons at a time on high speed. And I'm looking for a stiff and glossy meringue to form while I'm beating, and it's important to get that nice stiff structure. When you're looking through the exercises for this lab, for Lab 9, think about when we're using, what kind of leavening agents are being used and how the cake is rising. So in the angel food cake, we're not using any additional fat at all. All right, so here's my sugar, and I'm just gonna add a little bit at a time on high speed. Stop here. I have one last addition of sugar to add, but with this same addition I'm going to include the rest of the ingredients. So I'm going to put in the vanilla, 7 mils of that. I'm going to add the almond extract, just 2 mils. And then also the salt. And as I've been incorporating the sugar, hopefully it's been dissolving. You can, take a little feel of the meringue if you want, and I can't feel those sugar granules anymore, so that's good. That's what we want to be happening. Now I'm going to continue to beat this on high speed until we get those stiff and glossy cakes. Changing a bit, but you'll see when I lift the beaters, I still don't have those peaks. It is starting to look brighter and glossier. A little bit of change, but it still needs So you can see when I lift the beaters, getting stiffer, it is looking nice and glossy, but we're not quite there yet, and if I don't take it all the way, then we don't get the nice structure, high structure in the cake. still falling over, and I want them to stick straight up. We're almost there. Okay, I think that's good. You see when I put the beaters in and lift them up, those peaks, they stay nice and stiff all on their own. So that means that the meringue is ready. And I'm going to take this back to my workstation so that we can slowly add in the flour mixture. I am going to incorporate the flour and the icing sugar slowly into our meringue. I'm going to do about 1/4 cup at a time and sprinkle it over the meringue. And then I'm just gently by hand going to fold this in just until that flour mixture sort of disappears. So we don't want to overwork the meringue or we'll lose the air that we incorporated. Okay, I incorporated all of the flour, gently folding it in. And now we're going to pour it into our angel food cake pan. And this pan is ungreased. The batter needs something to grip onto, so if I greased it, the cake wouldn't be able to rise. It likes to cling onto the sides of the pan and uses that to rise up. It's hard to get an angel food cake batter in tidy because of this hole in the middle, but we'll do our best. Okay, so I'm going to spread this out as evenly as I can, and then I'm actually going to tidy up the pan a bit so these bits of batter don't burn that are on the sides. Okay, and one last step before I put this in the oven is just to gently, with a metal utensil, cut into the batter. And I think this will remove any kind of big air pockets that might have formed. So we're going to let it go with that. And then I'm going to put this in the oven at 375 for about half an hour, and we'll check it at that time. Okay, so let's check on the angel food cake. It's looking nice and browned. It's risen a fair bit. When I touch it gently, it springs back, so that tells me that it's ready. And something unique to an angel food cake is that we cool it by flipping it upside down. So that, let's just get that on this cooling rack here. Seems a little scary. It seems like it might fall out, but it's a light enough cake that it shouldn't. And this helps prevent gravity from collapsing the cake. So we're gonna let it sit here until it's completely cooled, and that might take about 2 hours. So the angel food cake has been cooling inverted for probably about 2 hours. So I'm just going to gently run a knife along the edges. It's a little bit tricky because we don't use a greased pan, so it is sticking a little bit. That's okay. Okay, and then I'm going to try to pop it out. There we go. There's our angel food cake. Okay, this is still exercise 9.1 and it's unit 2, the sponge cake. It's a similar method to the angel food cake, but you'll notice some differences. To start off with, I am actually using the egg yolk this time. In the angel food cake, we only use the egg whites. So starting, I've separated the 6 eggs and I'm starting with just the egg yolks. And I'm gonna beat these on high until we get kind of like a thick lemon color from the eggs, and it's going to take about 5 minutes. Okay, you can see that this has changed in color. It was a bright yellow, the egg yolks, and now they're quite a bit lighter and a more lemony color. And when I lift up the beaters, the egg yolks kind of like drop off in kind of a thickish stream. So I think that's ready. I'm going to add the orange peel. Actually, it would have been ideal to grate the orange peel a little bit finer, but this is the only grater that I had access to today. And then orange juice. And then I'm also going to add the vanilla. So I'm just going to beat this on low speed until they're combined. So that looks good. And then I'm gradually going to beat in a cup of sugar. I'm going to do it at low speed just to get the sugar incorporated. Okay, so I've got all the sugar incorporated. I'm going to turn the mixer speed up to medium, and this should thicken quite a bit, and then it should actually increase in volume a fair bit as well. So that also might take up to 5 minutes. Okay, so I've mixed this for about 5 minutes. It is looking kind of like a thick mixture. The volume has increased. It's kind of interesting actually going through this process, how the batter changes in texture and volume. So next step is to get this flour incorporated. And I'm going to do this part by hand. I'm just going to add a little bit of flour, about 1/4 of a cup at a time. And I'm going to use that folding technique again, so I don't want to be too vigorous. If I am, then I will remove that air that we worked so hard to incorporate. Okay, I've got the flour incorporated into the batter. The next step is to beat the egg whites along with some cream of tartar. And to do that, I need to have really clean and dry beaters. So I'm going to just take a quick break and wash those beaters and come back with the egg whites. Okay, so now I have put my egg whites into a separate bowl. I have nice clean and dry beaters. I'm also going to add that cream of tartar, again as a stabilizer, and then I'm going to mix this at medium speed until I get soft peaks. So I can tell that it's changing, starting to change. When I lift my beaters, I'm getting a little bit of a peak, but not quite at that soft peak stage. If we hit the soft peak, it will still hold its shape, but flop over just a little bit. Okay, so now I'm getting those nice peaks where when I lift it, it sticks up for a moment and then it sort of like falls over just a tiny bit. So that means that I'm ready to start incorporating my sugar. I'm going to do that again gradually, and now I'm looking, well, know that it's finished when I have stiff peaks. I'm looking for stiff peaks, and we're not there yet because the top is flopping over. Okay, so now we've got our nice sift peak. You can see that it's standing up still when I take out the beater, so the egg whites are ready. I'm going to move this over to my bench and then we'll incorporate the the egg yolk mixture as well. Okay, so the next step is to fold just a small portion, about 1 cup, of the egg white mixture into the egg yolk mixture. And we're going to fold that together. There are a lot of steps to this cake. This is not a dump and mix kind of cake, and I'm feeling like it's an exercise in patience. Hopefully the work effort is worth it. Okay, so now I'm going to take this mixture and pour it into the egg whites, and then we'll gently fold that together. And that is our last step before it goes in the pan to cook. Bake. So just gently folding it again. The colors are interesting. Okay, we've almost got this, just a little streak of white left. I'm gently going to incorporate. And then I'm going to pour it into this tube pan, not greased. So it's similar to an Angel Food cake pan, except this one doesn't have the straight edges. Okay, and we'll just evenly spread this. And again, I'm just going to clean up the edges so that I don't get any burning batter when it's in the oven. Okay, this is going to go in an oven at 325 for about 55 to 60 minutes. Okay, the sponge cake is ready to come out, and we'll take a look at it. You can see that it rose nicely to fit the pan, and it's golden brown on top. When I press it gently, it springs back, so that's a good indication that it's finished. And I'm just going to invert it on this wire rack and let it cool.